60 points. Look at the Boston players mobbing.
But Michael Jordan is not only the best basketball player, but he's the most exciting basketball player to ever play.
51 for Jayson Tatum.
The Big Three NBA podcast is powered by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of the CLNS Media Network.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Big Three NBA podcast. I'm Kwani Lewis, joined by Sherrod Blakely and Gary Washburn. I say welcome back because at this point, I hope that you are a regular watcher or listener of the pod. But yes, the Celtics, let's get right into it. The series is even now 1-1, following the Cavs' really, quite frankly, blowout win at TD Garden in Game 2. Donovan Mitchell with 29 points led 6 double-figure scores for Cleveland in general. The Cavs shooting 54% from the field, just looking like a legitimate team overall. Celtics, as you know, led by Tatum. But let's just look at the Cavs specifically. What did you two make of their comeback in Game 2?
Well, I mean, to paraphrase my brother Gary Washburn in his question to Joe Mazzulla, it's rare that they get that ass whipped like that. I'm just so Gary, that might have been like the highlight of the playoffs for me when you asked that question, Joe Mazzulla. We can talk about that later because you spot on with that. But that's what Cleveland did. I mean, they beast moded him around the block. They knocked down 3-point shots. They did everything that you're supposed to do. Whatever the game plan was, they executed to near perfection. They got everything they wanted when they wanted. The Celtics had that stretch where Tatum had 3-point play. Jaylen Brown came back with a 3-point play. It was a 1-point game. And then the minute you go, you blink your eyes, and next thing you know, it's back up to 7-9 points, Cleveland. So it was one of those games where it was a reminder that this Celtics team, as talented as they are, they have a tendency to ease up off the gas at the most inopportune times. They have to figure this out. I mean, obviously, it happened against Miami, and they were able to bounce back with 3 straight wins. Remains to be seen if it'll happen against Cleveland, because Cleveland is a better team than Miami was, and Cleveland has more bandwidth to grow and get better as the series progresses than Miami did. And it's going to be interesting to see how they come out in Game 3, because I think they need to not just win that game. They need to really put their imprint and put their foot down on Cleveland and plant those seeds of doubt, and hopefully for the Celtics, they'll blossom quickly.
I just thought it was it's just so surprising, because they went up 14-5, and I think they felt like, okay, these are the same chumps we beat in Game 1. We're about to cruise. And then Cleveland comes back with a 25-7 run, takes a 9-point lead, and you're like, okay, Cleveland's here. And I just thought, like, the key was, they had I think a 51-43 lead late second quarter. And in some of these games, like even the Miami game when they lost, like they had chances to build on these smaller leads to kind of put some distance. And the Celtics, I think, scored 3 points in the last 4 minutes of the second quarter, and suddenly it's tied at 54. And I just think that gave Cleveland a lot of momentum, especially when Donovan Mitchell hadn't done much in the first half. I think he was 2 for 6. He just was like, I'm going to let my homies handle this, and then I'm going to close it out. In the second half, he had 23 points. A lot of those, tough threes, tough shots he makes, and that's what he does. And to me, it was just a lack of effort, a lack of defense. Like, you knew Cleveland, like, I think the last parts of Game 1 where Evan Mobley went to work, I think he had like 4 buckets in a row during the kind of garbage time, and he was working the post. Like, Cleveland saw, like, hey, this could work. And they played through Evan Mobley extensively in the first half, and he got a lot of easy buckets. And they ran the Celtics off the 3-point line. And then it was just a bad combination. Derek White was just bad. Tatum got to the free throw line but couldn't hit shots. Jaylen was just off. Drew Holiday really hasn't given them all that much. Al Horford, like, nobody besides maybe Peyton Pritchard had a good game. I mean, of all the guys in the depth, Sam Hauser was out there, and he wasn't even getting up threes, and they were like, they were going at him defensively, and it's one of those, okay, you might have to get Hauser out of here. The same with Luke Cornett. It was bad Luke minutes, and they kept running him out there, and it's just like, this is not his night. And I just think that's the thing with the adjustments or lack thereof with Mazzulla, like he didn't do in game 2 against Miami when Porzingis was just terrible that night. He didn't make adjustments and change his lineups a little bit to give his team a chance to win. And then once Cleveland just kept hitting tough shot after tough shot, Max Strus hitting, fadeaways from the 3-point line in front of the Celtics bench, the Celtics got discouraged. They were putting their heads down after missed shots. So it was a pathetic performance. And it's just crazy. Everybody, this is your king. This is your number one team. The Knicks are grinding wins out with 3-4 dudes out. And the Celtics did a home game against a team without one of its better players in Jared Allen. And you lose by 24 at home. You get smashed. And then nobody else besides Jalen seems the least bit upset or pissed about it. Oh, we just, the spacing and, we rushed some shots. Like, you got your butts kicked. Like, it was going to be a tough game. Cleveland came to play. No one's asking, Joe, how come y'all didn't win this game by 20? Y'all should have won by 20. No, you were not going to beat the Cavaliers the way they played by 20 points. They played too well. But what you could have done is made enough plays, scraped enough to at least make it a game where you could have won in the last 2 or 3 minutes, or you could have won by 4 or 5 points, and you eke out a tough win. It's one thing when game 2 against Oklahoma City and Dallas played really well. They beat Oklahoma City by 9 points. Like, Oklahoma City says, hey, they just outplayed us. But when you lose by 24, when you bench your players with 5 minutes left because the game is out of hand, like, that's really embarrassing. And you're the number 1 seed. It's one thing to lose. It's one thing to lose like that in front of your home fans. And home court advantage really doesn't matter. So now you go to Cleveland, it's going to be raucous. They're like, oh, we got a chance in this series. If it was 0-2, it would be kind of desperation. Now the Cavaliers are like, all we got to do is probably win one and then try to sneak one. Like, now you didn't give them full confidence. And it's the same thing you play with Miami, but Miami just didn't have enough bullets in the chamber. Cleveland might. They could get Jared Allen back. They could get Dean Wade back. So to me, Kwani, Sherrod, it was just a pathetic performance. The same, we just didn't play well. We didn't, like, the same excuses. Somebody in there got to be pissed. This is embarrassing. You got to lose by 5. Y'all lost by 5 because Donovan Mitchell went for 20 in the 4th. Hey,
right.
That's not like a special player did some special things. They got us. But when you lose when they just whip your butt and Tristan Thompson's getting rebounds, and he's hitting dudes on back, like, you got to be embarrassed. When is this team going to be embarrassed? When is this team going to get pissed and be angry and play like, and they did against Miami, so maybe it might happen again in game 3 when they come out. But now you done woken up this team. Cleveland now comes and thinks, oh, we get game 3. We're up. And now we got them in real hot water. Now they've got to win game 4. We got to command. So you didn't put all these possibilities, and that's what this team has done over the years.
Yeah, and they've been consistent with that, unfortunately for them. Right now, when you look at where the Celtics are, you have to feel that they just don't get it. That they just don't understand that these moments for a team that has had the kind of heartbreak that they've experienced the last 5-6 years, playoff heartbreak, guys like Kyrie leaving and don't want to be around here, and just Gordon Hayward getting hurt and all these type of things. You would think that they would get to a point where there's a sense of urgency this time of year. They treated that game as if it was like a game in the middle of December. This is just 182. And that is the thing about this team that gives anyone and everyone who's followed them, anyone who's even looked at them from a casual standpoint, concern that they're not built to win a championship. And the sad part about it, Gary and Kwani, is that this season, the path to the NBA championship could not be any easier. Literally, every team that stands in your way of getting to the NBA Finals is down multiple guys, or they're just not that good. Indiana, they don't defend. So you can, even on a bad shooting night, you still can put up 115 and beat them. New York, they're down a damn near 6, maybe 6.5 players that are going to be healthy. And you start, and again, you look out west, it's not, other than Minnesota, that's probably the only team that's looking really good in every sense of the word. They've yet to lose a game in the playoffs. So the path of getting to the finals, getting through the East, something I talked about from the very beginning, the biggest challenge that they're going to have is themselves. And game 2 is an example of that. As well as Cleveland played, Boston committed more self-inflicted wounds and hurt themselves by their inaction, by their inactivity, by them not playing with a sense of urgency. That was way more impactful than what Cleveland was able to do out there. And we'll talk a little bit more about Jayson Tatum, but he's raising way more questions than a guy with his talent should be raising about himself and his role going forward. And it's uncomfortable, but it's necessary to have that conversation about him because again, incredibly talented player, but it feels like Groundhog's Day a little bit with him, where what we're seeing now, we saw last year, we saw another year. It's like whenever their season comes up short, there's a main factor in that, and it's their best player who doesn't play like their best player.
This is Sherrod Blakely with the Big 3 NBA podcast, and I wanted to talk to you about Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It is the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports teams and players compete. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. Get in now on the playoff action and win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level during basketball's postseason. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Yes, just 4 picks can multiply your money big time. You can turn that $10 investment into a $1,000 win with basketball, hockey, and other sports entries today on Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. As a longtime fantasy league player myself, Prize Picks is the perfect what's next to satisfy my fantasy league itch. You want in too? Here's what you have to do. First, you got to go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use the code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's right, prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS for a first deposit match of up to $100. So, that being said, you get a chance to pick more, you can pick less. It's that easy.
Let's actually get right into the Tatum conversation. We were going to play a game of pick and roll, good Cavs or bad Celtics in game 2, but you both basically answered it and stated that this was a situation where it was just bad Celtics. But Tatum, as you mentioned, and his impact, do you guys think he is built to lead a team like this to an NBA title?
You got it, Gary.
I think he can. What I don't want to hear is the season ends and Tatum goes on some interview with, GQ and says, "Oh, my ankle was badly sprained and I was hurt. I had 4 injuries during the playoff. That's why I didn't do well."
But then at the end of that, Gary, he'll say, "But I'm not making any excuses."
Yeah, he did that during the finals 2 years ago when he said his wrist was bothering him. I don't want to hear excuses this summer in July or with Team USA, "Oh, I'm just getting healthy now. I was hurt during that run." Like, I want to see Jayson be a dog, and I think that's what everybody's asking and wondering. Where like the problem is what's making Jayson look bad is Jalen Brunson and Anthony Edwards, 2 dudes who are dogs. Okay, DOGDAWG, however you want to spell the word dog,
and younger at that too.
Well,
Anthony Edwards is younger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dogs, right? And they're playing jump on my back, boys. We going to the finals. Jalen Brunson's doing that, carrying his team, and so is Anthony Edwards. I'm the best MF on this floor every night, and so I'm gonna get it done. And even if I'm going 7 for 20, I'm getting 10 boards, I'm getting 5 steals, I'm playing lockdown defense, and I'm making the big bucket to bail us out. Because Jalen Brunson wasn't great in the series all the time against Philly, but he carried them. And the same thing in game 2 against Indy, he got hurt, came back. I think everybody's waiting for that. And it's like, Jayson, where's the dog? Where's the, we're talking to him and he's kind of smiling at some questions like, yeah, like y'all don't understand, like we don't understand, Jayson, because this is the time, this is your time. You're 26. You're in your 7th year. You're entering your prime. This is supposed to be your prime years, right? Jordan won a title in his 7th year. He was a little older. He was 28, but he was in his 7th year. Same with LeBron. What did LeBron win in 2012? No, he was in his 7th or 8th, 9th year, whatever, right?
Yeah.
He was 28, okay, when he won it in 2012. But this is your time, Jayson. The window is because the dudes coming behind you, Edwards, Wemby, Brunson, they ain't gonna wait up for you, bro. They ain't gonna wait. They ain't gonna just tip their cap and go, oh, you can take it first. They gonna take the stardom and the best player in the league and the All NBA first team. They gonna take that from you, and suddenly you're gonna be second team, and suddenly you're gonna be third team. So this is your time to step up. Yeah. I'm not talking about you got to score 58 points, but you have to be more of an offensive force. Mm-hmm. If your threes aren't going down, you got to get to the rim. And he got to the free throw line, but he didn't hit shots. He missed some layups. He missed some bunnies. He's seeking out mismatches, trying to go against Max Strus. That's not working. So there's Jayson's got to have some moments, and it can't just be like, it just can't be, oh, I'll just do whatever I'm supposed to do. And if y'all don't like it, well, y'all are too hard on us. Like, he's got to have some reflections in a quiet room, or somebody got to be his Bundini Brown and look that up if you don't know who that is, Ali's hype man, and just tell him, his Flavor Flav, his whatever, and just hype that dude up and get him to get to a certain mental level to crush things, because he's capable. You see Donovan Mitchell? I saw Donovan Mitchell in the middle of the game. They were playing some music in the third quarter, and the Celtics fans, and he was just dancing to the music. Like, he was just like, yeah, I'm about to fuck y'all up.
I'm just chilling.
I'm about to put this down. Like, I was an old school music fan. And if y'all ever get a chance, when the Jackson 5 reunited on Motown 25, this is way before your time, Kwani.
Okay, and
okay. So they brought the Jackson 5 out, and Michael goes on the stage and looks at the crowd and has that look like, I'm about to blow y'all mind. I'm about to blow y'all minds. And what did he do? You could just look at his face when he got on the stage. He was not smiling. It was his game 7. And he looked at the crowd, all these famous musicians and people he looked up to, all these people who he's known, all these people the world was watching. And Michael look at that, his expression when he first starts to perform. And he's just like, man, I'm about to blow this up. Like, it's on. And that's what I need to see from Jayson. I need to see that face. I need to see that determination. And that's what everybody's looking for. Quit being so chill. We get it, Jayson. It's 1 of 82. We got another one tomorrow. I don't take things too hard. You got to take it hard, because your legacy is on the line. You're not young anymore. You're still young. You still got 10 years left in the league and all that. I'm not saying your career is coming to a close, but your prime is here. And you got dudes coming behind you that are ready to take your spot. Because if Anthony Edwards wins the title this year, he got your spot. He got your top 5 spot.
Absolutely.
You know what?
I have a question. Jalen Brunson got your spot, fool. Like, you want to be an MVP candidate? You wasn't good enough for that this year. So don't complain that the voters didn't give Joe Coach of the Year. So what y'all talking about? Because y'all got the most talent. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows that. Y'all to stack this team.
Where do you think that rant stemmed from? The MVP, Coach of the Year, 2 All-Star.
I just think he looks and goes, well, if we were all that good, if y'all had all this respect, y'all should vote Coach of the Year for Joe, and I should get more. It's like, Jayson, you didn't have an MVP season. Like, you should know that. And I thought, and I said it before the season, Jayson should treat this like an MVP year. Like, No Jokic, no Embiid, none of these suckers. It's me. And he didn't treat it like that. He had a solid year, good year. He took a step back because other guys were scoring. Jalen and Derek White stepped forward. So it's not like, oh, you should have averaged 38 points a game. You should have been MJ. No. But he didn't have MVP numbers. He has first team all the NBA numbers. He doesn't have MVP numbers. So was he salty about that? Dude, that's your fault. And I love Jayson. I think Jayson's a great player. I love Jayson. Covering him since he got here in 2017. Seen every damn game in the playoff. Every game he's played in playoff. All the games damn near every game in his career. So I've seen it. And I've seen him be great. When he didn't know nothing better in the 18 playoff, when he dunked on LeBron, and he was one of the best players on the floor. Him and Jalen leading it, had no idea. Now it's your turn. It's your time. When are you gonna act like it? And I don't know, Kwani. I don't know about this whole y'all expect us to win it. Yeah, y'all won 64 games.
Yeah.
We just don't expect y'all lose by 25. No one said this is going to be easy. I did some research. Today on
good research. Here we come.
We're doing a package at the Globe on all-time great teams. The 08 team went 16-10 in the playoffs. Okay. The team there, that was such a great team. Oh, the guys, oh my God, Paul, KG, Ray, they were good, but they lost 10 playoff games. Okay, so I'm not talking about the Celtics are terrible. They can still be great. They're still a great team, but you got to learn how to crush a dude, step on his neck. You can't let the Cavs have life, and Jason's got to be the head of the snake. I'm just going to divert. It was a lot like that Denver game at Denver where he had 13 points, sit in the corner, and Jalen scoring 41, doing all the work. And it's I didn't want to take away from what? Would Anthony Edwards say that? Would Brunson say no? There's so Jayson got to learn how to be a dog and maybe a tad bit more selfish. And if it's within the team concept, because you're the best MF on the floor, at least we think so. But in game 3, the best dude on the floor is probably Donovan Mitchell at this point.
Oh, he has been the best player. And I think that the problem for Tatum is, there's a few problems. First and foremost, not only is he not the best player on the floor, he's not the second best player on the floor. And he's borderline third best player on the floor. You're the guy that has carried you to one of the greatest regular season records in franchise history. Only 3 teams in Celtics history have won more games in the regular season than the team that you're the best player on. That comes with not just pressure, but responsibility. But game 2 was when your best player says, I got this one. Derek White, you got us game 4. You got us game 5. You really carried us in game 1. You ain't got it tonight. That's okay, because you're a role player. That's what role players do. They step up from time to time, but for the most part, there's a certain level that they play at. And Derek was below that. But if you look at what he's done overall, you're still playing with house money with whatever you get from him. Tatum, you have to be better. 40% shooting from your best player ain't going to cut it. Less than 30% shooting on 3 points ain't going to cut it. I'm glad you're getting all those rebounds, but you're getting a lot of those rebounds because you're literally not giving them anything else at the offensive end with a level of consistency or efficiency. And that's the problem. Tatum has to embrace the fact that he has to be a better player. When he went to that podium, I was really hoping that at some point he would just say, you know what? I have to be better. I know that there's a bunch of reasons that can factor in why we lost this game and we shouldn't have lost this back. Bottom line is I have to be better.
This one's on me.
Yeah. Take
exactly.
ownership over what happened. And that's
this one's on me.
With Tatum.
No, I'm not really worried about my shot.
You should be.
You should be, man. There's a problem. Your 3 isn't going down. You're a better 3-point shooter than you've shown. And I said, you said, Sherrod, he's got to come up and say, this one's on me.
Right.
I failed us. And if it's if everybody comes and says, no, that's not just you, if Joe and Jalen all that say that, then that's okay. That's good for them to say, and that's what you should say. But if I'm the star player, if I'm the superstar, if I'm the all-NBA, I say, yeah, man, this is me. Like, y'all blame me. Y'all look at me. I didn't step up. I was 7 for 17. I got frustrated. I let my emotions, bitching at officials too much, too many calls. I'm thinking, no, like, come on, Jay. Like, this is your time.
Hey everyone, this is Kwani Lewis from the Big Three NBA podcast. As you know, we are very excited to see where the Celtics end up throughout this playoff round. And of course, as a result, it's always cool to attend games when you're following along with your favorite teams. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of the NBA, which makes getting playoff tickets even faster and easier. They have prices on their app that actually go down closer to tip-off, which makes it easier to get a good deal. And with killer last-minute deals and all-in prices, also a view from where your seat will be, they also guarantee low prices, and Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying those tickets. All you need to do when you're on the app is pick out a specific game or matchup. All you need to do is go into the app and pick out that Boston matchup that you'd like to attend, look for a good deal, and just either wait it out or select the ticket right away. They have different features in the app, such as customizing your spot. Take all the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem that code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
You got to jump.
Gary. Let me ask you this though. Let's say they go to Cleveland, win game 4, or win games 3 and 4, come back home, finish them off in 5. The feeling that a lot of us are expressing with Jayson Tatum, is it just much ado about nothing, or is there something there that we need to be concerned about going forward in the conference finals, possibly NBA finals, and really going forward in a broad sense with Jayson and his leadership with the Celtics? Is there something that is concerning beyond just the comments, and he did have a great game?
I just think that, I think there's a reason for concern. If he might not be completely healthy or he's just hesitant, he's just not playing good ball. Like the rebound and the distributing, I'm not talking about he's not playing, he's not playing a good all-around game. He is. He's averaging,
it's like 21, 10.
21, about 10 boards, 5.5 assists. Not to say he's just killing them. No. But in the 2 games against Cleveland, 38%, and he's 2 for 10 from the three-point line. He was 9 for 31 from the three-point line against Miami. Like, he in the Eastern Conference Finals last year, he was 11 for 47 from the three-point line. So there's a problem. There's a real problem there. So he is shooting, according to my hood math, 22
over the 7.
22 for 88. He's shooting 25% from the three-point line since game 1 of the Miami series last year. 14 games, he's shooting 25% from 3. That's not him.
That's not even Marcus Smart.
That's not him at all. He's had some, when he carried, he was 37% in the Milwaukee series in the Eastern Conference semis, 35% when they beat Miami to get to the finals. He was even 45% in the NBA finals against Golden State from three-point line. So something is going on. If it's his shot, his release. And I know he got a lot of people in his ear. Okay, I'm sure he's got everybody trying to talk to him and tell him he needs to either go to one person or clear his head and quit thinking it ain't no big deal, I'll be fine. Like, that's a problem. Like, the whole, I ain't tripping off yet, I ain't tripping yet. Another game Saturday. Can't do nothing about this now. Like, that's not what Celtic fans want to hear. They want somebody to be pissed. Jalen was the only one pissed after that game. Al was pissed too. I'm sure the other guys were. I'm not saying the whole roster, nobody was upset. But the guys we talked to, Joe was short with us. And I'm sure he's going to have Charles Lee and Sam Cassell in his ear, and probably Brad Stevens say, like, the whole thing is, Joe, you can't lose this series. Just like Miami, Joe can't lose the series. Can't go out like that. You can't. So what are you going to do? And we don't know yet.
And I think that's part of the problem. There's a sense that we don't know how this is going to play out. The one thing that we have seen with Joe Mazzulla in his time as a Celtics, because on many, many levels, he has gotten better from last year to this year. One area that he has shown a clear deficiency in, and that is making adjustments from one game to the next. It's like he has to lose a game before he can figure out the adjustments he has to make, as opposed to being, taking a preemptive attack, a preemptive approach, and figuring out how the game needs to be tweaked on his end before you get that out, as Gary so eloquently put out there, before you get an ass whooping like this. Which again, one of my favorite. That's maybe Gary, maybe the best question you've asked Joe like all year. That's just my personal opinion, but it's a pattern that we're seeing with him, and it's a disturbing pattern because the deeper, and we all know this, the deeper you get into the playoffs, every game matters so much more. You don't have the luxury of giving games away. You don't have the luxury of positioning your team in a way that, well, we won game one, we blew them out, so we're just going to do the same thing. We're not going to make any changes. You got, and maybe, and Gary, something you touched on, Gary, which I thought was really important, and we saw it in the Miami series too. At the very end of each of those game ones where the Celtics had it blown out, there were things that the opponent was doing, finding success with. And they used those things going into the next game and built their game plan around what worked at the end of the previous game. And it's like, it's one thing that to happen last year. It's even one thing that happened in the first round series.
Why can't the Celtics do that? If you're going to lose game one, game two, okay, and why can't you work on some things and figure some things out to where we're like, you know what, such and such happened in the last 7 minutes. We lost by 18, but we like the way this. So why can't you do that? Why has it got to be the other team? That's what I don't understand. Like, you're right.
Here's the thing, Gary. The thing that I don't understand is when you see things working for an opponent at the very end of the game, when for the most part nothing has really worked, what do you think they're going to do next game out? And so
everybody knew they were going to play through Mobley more.
Right.
Everybody knew that.
Even if you had your game plan that didn't involve what they were doing at the very end of the previous game, you should be ready to pivot and deal with that immediately because you know it worked for them. So you should have a plan on how to slow that down. And it just doesn't feel like that's happening. It's like them going through Evan Mobley was like this big revelation that they didn't see coming, even though he's literally the only post player they got that can do some things. And he showed at the end of the game where he could do some things and help that team. And again, those are the questions that I think and Gary, to your point, if the Celtics don't get past this team, those are some of the questions that Brad Stevens is going to have to think long and hard about. And those are some of the questions that Brad is going to say, well, damn, that happened in this series. It kind of happened in the Miami series, and it happened in his first year. At what point is he going to get better in that regard? Now, does that mean you cut him loose? No, but it at a minimum, it involves you having a serious heart-to-heart conversation and just say, bruh, we can't do that no more. We can't let this happen anymore. And that's being very kind and generous to him to even come that far. Because I think I might be a little bit harder on him than that, but that doesn't really fit with the way Brad tends to do things. But bottom line is this: Joe Mazzulla has to be better. Tatum has to be better because they are the 1-2 punch that moves the needle with this team. If those two aren't getting it done, you can't expect anyone else in this team to be playing and impacting the game in a positive way if those two aren't getting it done.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, I mean, you guys have basically alluded to it, but I want to solidify as we prepare for that game 3 in Cleveland. What is your level of concern right now as the series shifts to the land?
I still think they're going to win the series, but I think along the way, they're raising a lot of questions that make me question whether they're going to win a title. I fully expect them to get to the conference finals, but I'm not as convinced that they're going to get past it as I was. And that's even if they're playing a depleted New York Knicks team, because the one thing the Knicks are going to show, regardless of what happens, is they're going to fight. They're going to scrap. you are going to have to kill them in order to move on. They're not going to beat themselves. You're going to have to beat them, and they're going to fight you tooth and nail to the bitter end. And that's how they're built. That's how they play. That's how they're coached. It's a clear reflection of Tibbs. And the Celtics, you may be the more talented team, but at some point, toughness has to kick in. Toughness has to be part of your DNA. And there's some of that with this team, but there's not enough. And if there is more toughness there, at some point they might want to put that on the top shelf and show the world that they're not this soft team, that they have a tendency to look like more than they should.
Yeah, I mean, my whole thing is, if y'all love to play for Joe so much, how come y'all don't always play hard for him? Because
Brother Washburn,
the Knicks play hard for Tibbs. The Heat play hard for Spo. If you love Joe that much, and it was the same thing with Ime, and how come y'all don't play hard for these guys all the time? What do they need to do? What do y'all need to do to get into y'all now? Ross's environment, 8:30 start. So everybody's going to be in there juiced up in Cleveland, Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. It's going to be a Ross's atmosphere. There's like now you didn't let them loose, let them feel like they're in the series. And now you're going to have to win the toughest game, one of the tougher games in the Missoula era. Because Donovan Mitchell's going to be feeling the home fans. All those guys that struggled maybe over game one are now going to feel like they can knock down some shots. You got to stop the tide, stem the tide early, not fall behind 20-2 or something, and then just take control and hopefully have some adjustments. Because I didn't understand, like I said, Sherrod, like if Miami's trying to find something in game one, they're blown out in the end of game one, and they're looking at, DeLon Wright was hitting three. Like they were starting to make shots and they made it interesting. They did something successful in that fourth quarter. The same with Cleveland in game one. They got blown out, but they said, okay, Mobley, stay in there and just work on some things. Let's see what happens when you go one-on-one in the post. And he was effective. So what did they do? We're going to do that again. We're going to play through Mobley. We're going to pick and rolls. We're going to have him pick and pops. We're going to do all these things. There's nobody on the Celtics that can stop him. He's with his crafty. I'm not saying he's not a great offensive player, but he is improving, and obviously he showed them something. So what is Joe and those guys going to do? And it can't be space. If I hear one more spacing and all this, why y'all lost because of spacing? Y'all didn't lose because y'all didn't play hard for 48. Y'all didn't lose because y'all got discouraged. Y'all didn't lose because y'all didn't guard Donovan Mitchell. Y'all didn't lose because you let Max Strus on a back door catch a pass from Tristan Thompson. Like, that's how come y'all lost. They were more creative than you were. They outcoached you. They outplayed you. They outworked you. That's why you lost, not spacing. And so I think they can win. They can win the series, but I'm not confident. I'm not. Oh, they got this a lot. No, they don't. They're going to have to work hard to win this series. And probably harder than they thought they would. And we'll see, like Sherrod said, we'll see if they have it in them.
Well, we shall see. Saturday night, they play 8:30 in Cleveland, and then again on Monday at 7 p.m. So, of course, we'll be watching those games. We know you, the fan, will be watching as well. And again, we appreciate you guys listening to the Big 3 NBA podcast. For Sherrod Blakely and Gary Washburn, I'm Kwani Lewis. We'll be back next week.